A whole civilization will die tonight. The President of the United States posted those exact words, paired with a blunt ultimatum: reach a deal by midnight or face the end of your nation. World leaders genuinely panicked. To understand the weight of that threat, you have to look at the preceding 6 weeks. For 40 straight days, the United States and Israel launched a massive, coordinated military operation against Iran. We're talking strategic bombings, drones, and heavy missile strikes. Iran fired back aggressively, sending waves of drones and missiles directly into neighboring Gulf countries. In a single day, Kuwait faced 28 drone attacks. The UAE saw 35. Gas complexes burned, and major Saudi oil pipelines took direct hits. 2 heavily armed coalitions spent nearly 6 weeks trading daily, heavy fire. The persistent exchange proved neither side would surrender quickly, leaving the entire region dangerously exposed to total collapse. Then, Iran blocked the Strait of Hormuz. Nearly 20% of the world's daily oil passes through this bottleneck. Shutting it down trapped massive LNG and oil supplies at sea. Prices exploded instantly. With nuclear talks stalled, there was no way to break the deadlock. By weaponizing a crucial shipping lane, Tehran forced a localized military dispute to become a massive economic crisis that immediately squeezed factories, airlines, and markets worldwide. With the global economy suffocating and a midnight deadline looming, a quiet diplomatic push was happening entirely out of the public eye. Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif stepped up as a vital intermediary. For weeks, he operated a secure back channel, manually passing demands and counteroffers between Washington and Tehran. Late into the night of April 8th, Sharif went to a microphone and announced that both the United States and Iran had officially agreed to an immediate ceasefire. In a matter of hours, the situation swung from a sitting U.S. president threatening to end a nation to a formalized agreement to lay down weapons. The United States agreed to use Iran's own 10-point peace plan as a baseline for negotiations, a massive concession after weeks of rejected proposals. In exchange, Iran agreed to unblock the Strait of Hormuz. They guaranteed safe passage for global shipping, but strictly limited it to a 2-week window. To keep Tehran at the table, Washington floated a major financial incentive. They opened the possibility of unfreezing billions of dollars in Iranian assets that had been locked up by international sanctions. Finally, the agreement required officials from both the U.S. and Iran to sit down in the same room. They would meet face-to-face in Pakistan to hammer out the remaining details. The moment these terms went public, the pressure lifted. Stock markets surged, shipping vessels started moving again, and oil prices dropped sharply. But the relief barely lasted a single day. Within 24 hours, the mechanics of the deal started to fall apart. The text of the ceasefire applied strictly to the United States and Iran. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu publicly seized on this detail, stating that Israel would absolutely continue fighting Hezbollah in Lebanon. Shortly after that statement, Israel carried out its largest attack on Lebanon since the fighting began. Over the course of just 10 minutes, military strikes hit 100 different targets directly inside Beirut during morning rush hour. The destruction was immense. Entire blocks burned, and over 250 people were killed in a single day, an event the UN described as defying belief. Because the back-channel peace talks failed to explicitly outline rules for proxy forces, a strictly literal reading of the treaty allowed the heaviest bombing of the conflict to happen on day 1 of peace. Leaders in Tehran were furious. They officially accused the United States of violating the terms of the ceasefire and openly discussed walking away from the table entirely. The promises of an open waterway evaporated. Despite the official ceasefire remaining active on paper, only 3 ships dared to transit the Strait of Hormuz after the strikes on Beirut. This is where everything stands today. In less than 48 hours, U.S. and Iranian delegations will land in Islamabad, Pakistan, for their scheduled Friday summit. The dynamic in that room will be entirely different than previous talks. 6 weeks of intense bombing showed U.S. airstrikes couldn't force an Iranian surrender, and Iran's missile barrages couldn't break the coalition. Both sides now know a definitive military victory is impossible. A negotiated deal is the only practical way out. Whether they can actually agree on one in Islamabad will decide if the fighting permanently stops or if the 2-week clock simply runs out and the world plunges right back into a war it barely escaped.